The next speaker is the Honorable Member, Miss Catherine Hughes. Honorable Member, at 11:53, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is ironic how life is, because for the in this parliament and in the previous parliament, in the long wee hours of the morning, I have seen a red-headed witch flying through the chambers. Mr. Speaker, I would like to start by giving a warm welcome to Letitia from the Black Panther movies. And I say to her, welcome, welcome to beautiful Guyana. Mr. Speaker, once again, I am here to address this honorable House on another budget. This time, our 2023 national budget, improving lives, building prosperity for tomorrow. And Mr. Speaker, I am fortunate to have heard this morning at 8:55, the Honorable Bobby on his 104 program, who reminded us, ignore loud and aggressive persons, for they are a vexation to the spirit. And therefore, the honorable member that has an inferiority complex when it comes to me, I feel sorry for you. I know the challenges of size, and I expect you to behave the way you do. I want to ask the Honorable President to make sure that the Most Honorable Kwame McCoy is part of that mission of men that we support. Mr. Speaker, let me start by recognizing that the preparation of any national budget, especially one of this size, is no easy task. I recognize the long hours of work undertaken by the staff of the Ministry of Finance and you, Honorable Minister Ashni Singh. And most importantly, the families of staff members who have endured many hours of their loved ones working overtime to fashion this budget. To all of them, I say thank you. As I stand here to address this august House in my British accent, thank God I am proud of the strong Guyanese education that taught me to speak properly. All right here in Guyana. I would like to think that my immediate response to that comment about a British accent would be to just laugh in the face of such pettiness at this critical juncture in our history. But I can't because it hurts me to think that in this day and age, we are still quibbling over a distraction so as not to address the real issues. One might also assume that I do not appreciate the efforts that have been made to put together this budget, that maybe for the first time in our history has behind it the resources to provide for our people in ways that we could never have thought of before. I do appreciate the effort, though woeful it is, but my overriding response is a deep disappointment that this opportunity to really give our country and our people what they've waited so long for is an opportunity lost. I cannot but weep for my people, the people of Guyana, who would hope that they would see more in this budget, a true understanding of any government, the need to put their people first, to see that the benefits gained from the oil boom could create real-time transformation in people's lives. I had earnestly hoped that this budget would showcase a change of thinking on the part of the PPPC, that they would see what could be done with the resources we now have available, and that they would have the moral inclination to do so. Alas, all to no avail. In addition to the lack of understanding of the needs of the Guyanese population that has been highlighted in this budget presentation, is the willingness to defend its inaccuracies with a state of inaccuracies and, in some cases, outright lies that are mind-boggling, to say the least. Our aim as elective representatives of our people is to ensure that we provide the means for every last one of them to live full lives, to have access to quality health care, education, the means to earn a living, provide for them a dignified old age, and to use the country's resources towards that purpose. So, on behalf of my people, the people of Guyana, the questions I must ask are these. How does this budget contribute to better lives for our people? How does it improve education and healthcare? How does it allow our people to have the resources to live comfortably? How does it add dignity to the lives of the elderly? Mr. Speaker, this budget has the responsibility to articulate a vision for Guyana, and this is what we're not seeing. What will the country look like in 5 years, in 10 years? Mr. Speaker, a real vision cannot be found amongst the collection of large infrastructure projects thrown together. Mr. Speaker, there are few truths that I hope we all can agree on in this room, regardless of the hostilities, the vitriol, the lack of respect, and downright verbal abuse hurled especially to us women in this honorable house. The first truth is that regardless of which side of the house we sit, any government in office in Guyana from now on will be able to have money to spend on the medium and long term. The gods have given us that gift, and we are thankful. The question is, how do we prioritize the welfare of all our citizens, our children, our pensioners, those with special needs? And how does this budget treat these groups? This must be our number one consideration. Mr. Speaker, this budget is set at $781.9 billion. The first budget to benefit from $31.3 billion from the sale of credit carbons, along the transfer of $2.8 billion from the National Resource Fund. Real GDP grew by 25.1%. The US dollar has been relatively stable over the last 2 years and even before. All good, Mr. Speaker. All good, Mr. Junior Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, as I am fair in my assessment of the positive nature of these indicators, I want to give credit where it's due. A failing highlighted during these budgets. Mr. Speaker, no matter how you cut it, our nation would be sitting in a totally different place had the APNU AFC coalition not pushed the development of our oil and gas industry, as any good government was expected to. What is sad, Mr. Speaker, is the minister's constant tirade that he collected a damaged economy. Mr. Speaker, at this point in time, I want to remind us all how this economy was ticking as far back as 2018.
Honorable member, just give me 1 minute. Honorable member, Mr. McCoy, Honorable Minister, you're in my right ear. I can't help but hear you. So if you could tone down what you want to say and be a bit more effective in it. I'm just getting now overly annoyed with the shouting from you. You get back your time, honorable member. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I wanted to remind the junior minister of how strong our economy was in 2015. And these are the words of the International Monetary Fund. And of course, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to be sharing all these documents with the Parliament. And this is what it says. Ghana's economic growth strengthened in 2018 with broad-based expansion across all major sectors. Real GDP growth grew by 4.1%. And then it goes on to say, production, which was largely financed by direct foreign investments, petroleum sector, public finance, improved in 28 as the central government deficit came in at 3.5% of GDP, lower than the budgeted 5.4, and it goes on. Economic growth increased. The medium-term prospects are very favorable as oil production is on schedule to begin in early 2020. We started in 2019. And there's the director saying that the management of Ghana's oil wealth and the emphasis they need to complement it. They are commended that the National Resource Fund framework aims to save some of the resources. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to spend more time, but to say there was no bankrupt economy in 2018. So, Mr. Speaker, and this is where I want to say that, since assuming office, I want to quote page 1 by the Honorable Minister, who I see had to get up and leave, and that's okay. I know how that feels. Since assuming office, our government set about the task of repairing the deep and lasting damage caused by 5 years of misrule and mismanagement. Now, what's good is that he introduced to this parliament the term intellectual dishonesty. And it's interesting that the minister himself is a victim of his own intellectual dishonesty. So, Mr. Speaker, the shouts that nothing was done have been resounding. But as I said, the facts are here on the emergence of Guyana's oil and gas industry, which the APNO AFC so carefully charted so that all Guyanese could reap the benefits. And in terms, we know that the road to first oil 2015 to 2019, I want to mention some of the things that we achieved in those 4 short years with less money to spend and restrictions on spending money. We strengthened the GGMC, GRA, EPA, signed a new agreement, a production license, established the EITI, established a Department of Energy, and even created the very first GIPEX oil conference. A big oil conference. We keep hearing that it's the first time. We did it in 2018. 650 persons paid to come. And that was when we were in government. We signed bilateral partnerships, MOUs for training, and got support from the World Bank, IDB, IMF, the Chatham House, the Royal Institute, the Oxford University. It goes on. Tons of work was done, Mr. Speaker, by hard-working, committed Guyanese. It's time we give credit where it's due. Mr. Speaker, I note that in 2016, our inflation rate was 1.4, 2017, 1.5, 2018, 1.6, 2019, 0.1, by the same government that supposedly mismanaged the economy. Today, it's a whopping 7.2% and rising as the food cost highlights. Prudent management of the inflation rate, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we look at Appendix 6 in the budget, of course, it talks about our public debt. And I don't want to list all the figures because of time, but I just want to say in 2018, it was 1.79 billion, and by this year, we expect it to be 4.4 billion. Mr. Speaker, the minister states on page 26, since returning to office, we invested over 10 billion in plant and equipment. This year, sugar gets over 4 billion. And yet, Mr. Speaker, when the coalition was in power and so-called mismanaged the industry, in 2019, 92,282 tons of sugar was produced. And in 2022, under the excellent management of Mr. Singh, the PPPC could barely produce 47,000 tons. this does not make a lot of business sense, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't have to repeat the pain our citizens are experiencing with the high cost of living. We've heard the present cost of items in the basic bread basket of goods. And I'm asking, is this really the best we could do? This fastest growing economy in the world, one of them. The best we could do, Mr. Speaker, is to give the pensioners $5,000 increase. Mr. Speaker, allow me to directly show. Good quality depends. A bill for $4,000. And I know Depends can be bought cheaper in Guyana. But it was a pensioner that said to me, Miss Cathy, we buy this one because it lasts a little longer. So your $5,000 increase would be spent on 18 Depends. And maybe we could throw in a bottle of Ensure for the pensioners. Is that the best we can do? Mr. Singh, Honorable Minister Ashni Singh, you and this PPP government have given the pensioners nothing really. And that's why we had recommended 50,000. Our persons with special needs, whom the Minister of Education boasts we're going to do more for, which is good. They get an increase of $2,000. Really, Mr. Speaker? That is actually 2 taxi drops, assuming you're living in Georgetown. If you're living anywhere near Herstelling, it would be 2,000 or 2,500, depending on the time of day. Mr. Speaker, there has been much debate about the future of education. And I am strong and I support the programs that are going to improve the ability to give a higher quality education to our students. But Mr. Speaker, we have been told, but we have to ask, how come with a budget of over 700 billion, we have to wait until 2025 for the students, the university students, to get a little something? Mr. Speaker, could we give them a 50% reduction in the fees? Get creative, work together, maybe arrange a 25% rebate, something to help the students in these difficult times. How can we justify putting $4 billion into sports? And I'm a strong supporter of sports. How can we support and justify $4 billion in sports and a little over $3 billion for the University of Guyana, the premier institution where we and the private sector expect our qualified Guyanese students to come out of from, especially given the local content requirements. 5 of the 8 faculties at UG are science-based. Within the Faculty of Social Sciences, there are 12 different disciplines. How do you justify gold scholarship programs, getting about half of UG's budget with no physical infrastructure of that size to work with? Mr. Speaker, politics should never intrude on our educational capabilities. The Learning Channel, quite possibly, is the most important mass education tool for the primary and secondary education process, education in Guyana, and it must be commended. But this entity has been unable to reach its full potential because it continues to be constrained by nepotism and limited thinking. Why should someone who is related to the sitting Minister of Education be running that facility with no broadcast experience and no education background? These are the issues that continue to plague us, and these are the issues that have to be addressed. Mr. Speaker, we could have used the opportunity of these debates to discuss these issues. Mr. Speaker, how is it possible that the APNU AFC coalition, at a time when there were no oil reserves, was able to make permanent salary increases in wages and salaries for teachers, nurses, doctors, the defense services, police and security forces. It moved from 39,570 in 2015, and again, I don't want to break down, spend time on that, but it moved from just over 39,000 to 70,000 by 2019, a 77% increase. Mr. Speaker, I want Guyanese to understand what I'm saying. I'm making a distinction between putting and increasing your minimum salary and as opposed to one-off cash grants. I want Guyanese to understand that if you were receiving a minimum wage of 39,570 in 2015, and you then started to get by 2019 70,000, it means you were getting an extra 30,430 every month before tax. Imagine by the end of the year, you would have received approximately, roughly, don't knock me down fit, $365,000 extra. Now do you understand, Guyanese, how small that 35,000 one-off cash grant really is? We recommended taking the minimum wage to 100,000. Don't the poorest Guyanese have rent or a mortgage, family, electricity, and all those costs to pay? Mr. Speaker, what is of great concern, which is reflected in this budget, is the government's propensity to provide cash grants instead of increasing wages and salary. And what exactly is a cash grant? I want everybody to understand we're in support of cash grants, but it must be a top up. Because guess what? You can't take a cash grant to a bank. You can't use a cash grant that is unpredictable and subjected to the whims and the fancies of this government to give it to you. You can do very little long term with it. So these are the fundamental problems. Mr. Speaker, on the tourism development front, I want to say that what is important, what we have to look at long term with regards to our long term plans for economic development is that information must be driven by data, right? All of us in this house, including the private sector, must be given the opportunity to interrogate that data. Mr. Speaker, I asked the question to the Honorable Minister of Tourism. What is the data that we can use that supports the decision to place a much anticipated hospitality training school 6 hours away from the geographical area of our new hotels? All the new hotels are going to be on the coast. And yet, we're asking that investor to work out residential accommodation for his staff to be able to go to the hospitality school, which we know is an important institution. I worked and did studies on that also. So why would you give a potential investor that burden when we know they want to ensure that their staff can go on with on-the-job training? And that's why I say to this honorable house, why not an urban area, is a totally unacceptable answer. Bring the data, Mrs. Minister. It's the same kind of thinking and lack of data that allowed us to create a synthetic track in a location where our data does not show the majority of our athletes do not come from, and the athletes that can use it have to take 2 buses each way. Mr. Speaker, I want to note that when it comes to some sectors, reductions have been huge. Gold is a classic example, where the earnings were 876.6 million by 2022, but had fallen to 80.30 million. Mr. Speaker, sadly, one of the problems we've had in this debate, these debates, has been the gross inaccuracy deliberately voiced and spurted out here. And one of those is that of the Guyana Forestry Commission, We heard the junior Minister of Finance, the Minister of Agriculture, and others speak of the APNU AFC bankrupting the Forestry Commission. Mr. Speaker, again, nothing could be further from the truth. The report of the forensic audit and review of the Guyana Forestry Commission, dated December 31st, 2015, by Anand Gulsaran on page 8, informs us of a totally different position. And I quote, during the period 2006 to 2010, the Commission made payments to other state agencies totaling 1.28 billion out of its retained earnings. Of this amount, two payments totaling 600 million were made to NISIL to meet the cost of the 2007 World Cup, to assist in the construction of the Marriott, and another 600 million transferred to the Governor of the Bank of Guyana as the liquidator for the Colonial Life Insurance, CLICO. So you see where that money went prior to 2015. And at section 22(1) of the Act, we're reminded the Act prohibits the Commission from making a loan or any grant except for the purposes of carrying on the functions of the Commission. Despite that, a grant of US $600,000 was made to the Irakrama International Center. Now, I'm a strong supporter of the Irakrama. I have visited several times, encourage my family when they come to go and visit. However, let's not talk about violating the law when you are doing it yourself. 1.36, the Commission's main operating bank account, was overdrawn by 90.2 million by the 31st of May 2015. And the interest was 489,204,000. That's what we're talking about. Mr. Speaker, I want to go also to this report that was tabled in this House, signed away, I think it's called. What a collection of, I won't say what it is. But I am going to ask the Parliament to share this information. The Honorable Minister on this side, Minister Rodriguez, came here and pontificated about the Global Witness Report. She stressed the C word. You know the C word, right? We can't say it, but you know. That's it, right. She stressed the C word, but what she did not do is state that Global Witness themselves withdrew their report, and that Forbes magazine did a story on the withdrawal of that report. So the information is here, and we may have forgotten our own Guyana Oil Now. Global Witness withdraws report on Guyana. It's right here. And then, from Global Witness, it said, statement on the withdrawal of the Global Witness report on Guyana's oil sector. Our February 2020 report on Guyana's oil sector, signed away, is not consistent with that focus. And for this reason, we've decided to remove it from our website and stop using it in our campaigning work. We regret any unintended negative consequences arising from this report. And then the assessment that Forbes magazine, the very reputable Forbes magazine, made on this, and let me quote, this is Forbes magazine. Yet on closer examination of the report, right, Forbes magazine, the allegations do not really stand up. Global Witness states repeatedly and unequivocally that it found no evidence of wrongdoing by ExxonMobil or any of the government ministers. Imagine that. And this is what Forbes magazine says. In the end, just a few hours of analysis reveals the Global Witness report for what it is, an ideologically motivated attack piece aimed at some of the biggest players in the oil and gas industry, and I will add the former government, right? Which, given the group's history, comes at no surprise at all. Mr. Speaker, we all know that Mercury was contracted and Global Witness was just one of the many deliverables. And our vice president said publicly it was money well spent. Mr. Speaker, I would like to now look quickly at the area for which I was responsible as former Minister of Public Telecommunications. And I want to look at this because I listened in horror as the Minister of Amerindian Affairs came to this house, stood at this podium, and uttered a battery of untruths. Mr. Speaker, it was disingenuous at least and downright dishonest at worst to suggest that nothing was done in this sector under the last administration.
Honorable member, the dishonest to be withdrawn, but before I ask that you get an additional 5 minutes, you
you.
had, you
Comrades,
had,
my apologies.
I said
Comrades,
before,
Comrades.
you had made a statement that the Honorable Minister Manning Chan had hired her relative at the Learning Channel. I would also need you to produce that evidence. Honorable Member, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Comrade Chairman, I move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude her presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Member, clock starts at 12:25.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will withdraw that word and just say that the former minister was mendacious in her utterings when she stood at this program. Mr. Speaker, she spoke about finding a variety of tablets and batteries. Remember that? At a location in Diamond. And this is where I would like to submit also the audit of the one laptop per family project. And Mr. Speaker, item 7. Our procedures revealed that the management was unable to account for an additional 1,875 laptops costing $109 million plus, right? Laptops acquired by purchase or grant were a total of 55,145. Some 5,136 were either stolen or defective. The total cost was 1.6 million. And Mr. Speaker, lots of those were left in a location. And I have a feeling that that's the same location she's referring to. Mr. Speaker, I don't have to talk about training over 4,000 students, about creating over 170 ICT hubs, connecting ministries, setting up satellite VSAT dishes. I want to comment very quickly on a comment that the Minister of Finance made when he talked about the hinterland poor and remote ICT project languishing. That's the word, languishing. And believe it or not, that project, we signed the MOU and also their photographs online of the former Minister of Finance signing with Mikiko Tanaka, the former UN representative. We worked with Khadija Mujo since 2016 when the ministry was created. So don't come and say nothing was done. Mr. Speaker, at the end of the day, what I want to say is that my presentation is not an indictment on what was done, but it really is a hope that we can search for common ground. Let us all understand how we're failing our people. Because, Mr. Speaker, an eye for an eye will just make us all blind. I could mention, of course, the fiber optic cable. And I just want to remind people of the figures. 13 billion wasted. Not a cent of this cable anywhere between Linden to Latham, managed by the son of a former president. Mr. Speaker, I will lay over that report too. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have allowed race and politics to divide our country to our own detriment. And if we don't see that the world is watching on and laughing as our resources are depleted for the benefits of others, then these days of debates would be an exercise in futility, another wasted opportunity. Surely, Mr. Speaker, our ability to understand history, the challenges that hate and conflict bring to our country should encourage us to be able to meet in a different way, encourage dialogue, and to come to some common ground. Mr. Speaker, we've all made mistakes in the past, and we understand the challenges any government may face in the search for lasting solutions. I am not here to put down the efforts to craft this budget. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, one of the rallying cries in this House has been the chance of rigged elections. And we maybe don't realize that that perpetuates a stereotype that one ethnicity is responsible for the damage that was done to our electoral process, when we all know that it was an incompetent GCOM that failed to deliver on a good election, and up to today is not willing to examine its administrative processes. Mr. Speaker, these are the things that we must be honest enough and bold enough to have a conversation on. Mr. Speaker, I want to close with a quote from the Most Honorable Lee Kuan Yew. A nation is great, not by size alone. It is the will, the cohesion, the stamina, the discipline of its people, and the quality of its leaders, which will ensure it an honorable place in history. Mr. Speaker, we on this side look forward to creating and contributing.
Honorable member, I see the honorable member Ms. Volda Lawrence on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, and sorry to interrupt the member. But I hear the honorable member and minister, what's his name?
Yes,
Forte.
the
Mr.
point of order.
McCoy, shouting out Mrs.
I
Maya's
don't,
name in this parliament,
honorable
Mr.
member, I
Speaker.
don't see
And
that
this
as a
is
point of
happening
order,
over and
but
over
I have
again
already,
with people who
or
are not here.
I have already named the minister already. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
Sorry, can I just read the quote again? Huh? Yeah? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I was closing, I'm urging that we can work together, and I wanted to end with this quote from Lee Kuan Yew. A nation is great not by its size alone. It is the will, the cohesion, the stamina, the discipline of its people, and the quality of its leaders, which ensure it an honorable place in history. Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the fence, this side of this most honorable House, are committed to helping to ensure that Guyana becomes the next Singapore in the Caribbean, for the benefit, though, of all her citizens. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Guyana. Mr. Speaker.
The minimum wage is the same. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, as is customary, I rise to make my contribution to Budget 23. Allow me to extend thanks to the committed but underpaid public servants for the hard work in the preparation of the budget. The nation is aware and will not fault our public servants for the contents in this budget, which is not fit to be associated with one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2013 is simply a huge amount of money at their disposal. So they simply cobbled together some projects and announced the country's largest ever budget. There are no policy statements in the budget. There's no planning or vision. Most, if not all, of the capital projects included were conceptualized, designed under the coalition government. Credit for.
You're going to withdraw that shamelessly.
Sir, before I proceed, sir, I'd like to address a few issues, sir. And Mr. Speaker, you know, like you, I have an aversion to paper. I normally like to have everything electronically, sir. But because we are ruling so far, sir, I've walked with all the supporting documents, everything I make, sir, and I'll make all available to the Parliament on my completion. And I hope, sir, that you don't have to interrupt me to ask for source, because there's all here. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to address an issue that the government keeps repeating, that the life and death of the Myla Falls project. Sir, this project, sir, was mentioned in all four of the government's budgets. However, it's no closer to commencement, with all efforts thus far falling short. It is time that the record is set straight once and for all. Not for the members on that other side, sir, they don't care, but for the younger MPs on my side of the House, sir, and the general public. Mr. Speaker, here are some facts, and I am running through the facts very quickly. April 1998, the people sorry, I hope I could use his name, to undertake feasibility studies. He produced a report in December 2001 and requested the issuance of a license. In July 2002, an interim license to Synergy Holding was issued, despite an adverse report on the soundness of the project from their own consultants, sir, in July 2002. Sir, one of your consultants, Keen Consultants, and 9. Sir, in 2009, Synergy Holding transferred the interim license to Site Global. In March 2010, the PPP received 4 bids for the access road. So I'm not quickly going through, and they awarded a contract to Synergy Holding for the access road for $15.4 million, even though that company had no previous experience in road building, sir. Mr. Speaker, the PPP's consultants, sir, and you're not allowed to mention names, but if they force me, I will, indicated, and I quote, sir, that the appropriate process was not followed, as the evaluation was at best a qualitative assessment with too many unknowns, as the recommendation cannot stand scrutiny, sir. That's the recommendation to appoint Synergy Holding. Sir, but they proceeded, nevertheless, sir, to award the contract. Of course, the Synergy Holding contract was terminated in July 2012, having only completed 30% of the work, sir. That road ended up costing Guyanese taxpayers by the end of 2015, when we came to power, in US dollars. Sorry. Letter. However, it was subject to certain caveats, mainly the financial and technical viability of it. Sir, the vote, you must note, sir, whatever they tell you, this was never ever approved by the IDB board. All the IDB agreed to do, sir, was help them find financing. The IDB, sir, the World Bank was approached and they flatly refused to fund the project. Maybe, sir, in 2012. Move forward, sir, to April of 2013. The minister's quiet. Sir, the National Assembly, sir, approved two bills came. The Hydroelectric Amendment Bill was approved by the National Assembly, the opposition, sir. And a motion, sir, to raise the debt ceiling to 130 billion was reduced to 150 billion. With a caveat, sir, come back to us and the National Assembly. We never, sir, the water prudent spending, sir. Sir, I would like to move forward to July of 2015. So this is where it gets interesting, sir. A review of the product was conducted, sir, by the new once the confidential, sir. They had 3 meetings with the opposition, but there was some information that was deemed too confidential to be provided to the opposition, sir. Had to be laid over. Sir, when they met with the opposition, they told us that it would be $858 million US dollars. And at the time, sir, they went around and the PR was saying it. And you know that, sir, you were there. 10 cents US, not 10 cents US per kilowatt hours. That was what they were telling everybody. But guess what, sir? When they shared the information with us, sir, the tariff had risen to 25 cents US dollars when we got it. 25 US cents dollars, sir. What we're paying right now, what we're paying now, sir. And sir, they moved, and it's all here, sir. It's all here. And I can quote, sir, and they moved from saying it is a project to save energy and to get cheap electricity, and they described it now as a flagship for low carbon development strategy to reduce emissions. It's no longer about, sir, electricity costs. Sir, that's on the end of the issue, sir. We discovered, sir, in addition to the $558 million that they said, sir, we had the government again had to put 138 million capex for GPL. Sir, see the ministers there. Capex for GPL, sir, that's the GPL cost, sir, for the transmission, to make it available to distribution and transmission. $40 million, sir, US dollars, to buy down the equity of the sponsor, sir, and $3 million US dollars. $3 million US dollars for the relocation of 30 persons. So when we did the competition, sir, the project, this flagship cheap Amila project that they came up, sir, the tariff ended up at 30 cents US. That, sir, is why the project is dead. Sir, and I will go to what their rebuttal will be, sir. North Construct. Sir, the Ministry of Finance, Norway, and Natural Resources conducted a review of the project, and they employed a consultant, North Consult, sir. And North Consult said it was the most viable project. They said the Falls was prioritized as the first hydro plant because it was the only one with the full feasibility study. Because for the PPP, there was the Myla or nothing. Just, sir, we have the guy through nothing. But I'll come to that, sir. However, in 2018, the Ministry of Climate and Environment of Norway sent a delegation to Guyana. And they met with the government of Guyana and the IDB. So it is concerning the $80 million that was in the fund. The Norm region team came with the belief, as the PPP were shouting and telling them, that the Amila Falls was the only option. The government of Guyana presented our proposed transitional energy plan. The Norwegian team visited various locations, held discussions with stakeholders. So it was a 4-day visit. And at the start of the third day of the visit, the team leader announced that they had an epiphany. They discarded any idea of funding the Amila Falls project, and they fully endorsed the APNU's AFC Energy Transition Plan, sir. Mr. Speaker, the AFC plus APNU plans was to utilize the $80 million for 30 megawatt solar farm with 8-hour storage. This begged, they pleaded, they threatened. The government of Norway has refused to allow the money to go back to the mine. Included in this budget document. Sir, the Mila Fall project, for the records, was not killed by the opposition. Far from it. It was stillborn. It died from malnutrition, sir. A lack of financial and technical substance, as well, sir, as bad parents.
What did Sue say?
Issue and demonstrated project. But I'm not blaming others for the failures. Allow me to address a few things in Budget 2023. Public Works, sir. The Honorable Minister of Public Works in his presentation regaled the House on the size of his budget for miscellaneous and urban roads, made light of the money available, sir, to the then Ministry of Public Infrastructure, as opposed to what he has in its details. We, on the side of the House, rarely acknowledge the huge amount of money available for the APM based on the production agreements, or the one that they criticized, signed by the APNU AFC government. Sir, as always, sir, the devil has always been in the details. And let me give you some details, sir. Special Projects Unit, sir. It was a coalition government that established the Special Projects Unit. Sir, in 2015, when we assumed office, there was something called a Force Accounting Unit, sir, and all that was there to do. It was under the direction of the Permanent Secretary, and it was there to provide general emergency works. Patch a hole here, patch a hole there, fix a plumbing leak, repair a leaking room. So the creation of SPU, sir, was done under the leadership of Honorable Annette Ferguson there. In 2015, in 2016, 2017, and 2018, $150 million worth of material every year. Increase the staffing twofold with engineers and semi-skilled workers and unskilled workers, and place it under the direction of the Work Services Group. And that, sir, is what made it what it is today. Sir, but here is the crook, sir. The minister announced that the SPU completed several kilometers of work, sir. He regaled us between 2022. But let us look at the coalition record for it, which had 1/5 of his budget, sir. Sir, in the minister announced in 2020, sir, they did 300 kilometers of work repair. 2021, 420. 2022, there's SPU, sir. 1/5 of the money. The 2017, sir. More than they did with the monk to double the money. In 2018, sir, we did 450 kilometers work. Sir, it's all here for thing. Sir, just for the records, I left this entire thing on the minister's desk, which, you know, you don't have to. It was on the, you can check it yourself, sir. We did 450 kilometers. Less money, more excellent value. Speaker, the minister boasted about the sums of money expended by the PPP on sea defenses. The Honorable Minister announced that since coming to office, his ministry, sir, completed 5.4 kilometers of new work, rehabilitated 1 kilometer of sea defense, and maintained 81 kilometers of sea defense, sir. But this law, and this was done to loud applause, sir, colleagues. Once again, the devil is in the details, sir. But let us compare the APNU, AFC's government 2017 to 2019 track record. Without any oil money, with 50th budget, sir, we did 13.8 kilometers of new work. 50.3 kilometers of rehabilitation work, sir, and 253 kilometers of maintenance work. Chalk to cheese, sir. Value for money and prudent spending. Now waterfront development, sir. The PPP never we did so much more to a higher standard, sir. Urban roads, same thing. Regaled us of what he did. Sir, this is what the PPP did in urban roads. Sir, but 5 times the budget of the APNU. 2020, 6.4 kilometers. 2021, 3.6 kilometers. 2022, 18.3 kilometers. Sir, here is what the coalition did, sir, in 2017. 20.22 kilometers in 2017. 21.1 kilometers in 2018. Sir, of course, we fell down in 2016, sir. We did 16.6. Sir, in the 3 years, 2017 to 2019, sir, it's all here. The coalition administration completed 58 kilometers of road works in urban areas. Compared to the 3 years of the PPP, sir, with all the money they have, they've only done 28.13, sir. How is that, Minister, for lethargic and do little state? Mr. Speaker, one might be wondering why such a lethargic. However, one must just look at the voting patterns in urban areas to understand why the citizens are not being served efficiently, sir, in this biggest ever budget. So we go to miscellaneous roads. And he said, sir, the minister said that in the 5 years, only had 8.54 billion, correct? As opposed to his 45 billion, and he was like triumphant. Sir, I admit, they did more than us. But we, sir, as I said, the devil's in the details. Sir, in 2020, in miscellaneous road, they did 80 kilometers, that's according to the minister. Sir, with 1/5 budget, here what we did. In 2017, 32 kilometers. 2018, 60 kilometers. 72 kilometers. The coalition from 2017 to 2019 did a sir, and that cost the people of Guyana $4 per kilometer. Sir, the PPP has done, sir, the PPP has done 562 kilometers, sir, at double the cost. $92 million per kilometer. More than double the cost with half the quality. One can only wonder where the extra money is going. Mr. Speaker, what makes it worse, sir? What makes it worse? In 2022, sir, of the 290 kilometers of road, they said, sir, as Minister, as Brigadier, sir, only 55 kilometers were actually.
You're getting back your time. You're getting back your time. I hear shouts is stupid and are you stupid? The word is on parliamentary. I think Chief Whip's gonna contain their people.
Mr. Speaker, this ministry can't even spend the allocated more funds. Money, sir, sir, for friends, family, and favorite. Now, I said, sir, as I said in 2020, but sir, are back in tongue. Interestingly, sir, one would have thought with such a great increase of money for roads in this ministry that you would have accompanying increase in staff. Sir, if you look at the staffing details, sir, sir, the technical and the semi-technical people are bolting. This is not well, sir. All is not well in the land of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Sir, we will come to that, sir. I think about 44 persons that bolted, sir. They can't work under the ministers. Mr. Speaker, that may explain why it took the ministry 8 months and a personal visit by the minister to discover that a contractor, after collecting $22 million advance, never one day turned up for work. Of course, we're not surprised to learn that the contractor is a family of, sir, of one of the ministers. Mr. Speaker, this ministry should be named family and favorites. Since every friend, family, and favorite has been awarded multi-billion-dollar contracts, no matter your experience, sir. In 2020, if you are a race car driver, no worries. You will be awarded a contract under the new Ministry of Friends, Families, and Favorites. If you are dealing gold and metals, no worry. You'll be awarded a contract under the Ministry of Friends, Family, and Favorites. In 2020, sir, if you were a joker on social media, no worries. You'll be awarded a contract under this ministry. In 2020, promoter, or you would have been awarded, you will be awarded a contract under this ministry. If your son, daughter, wife, never built a road before, no worries. You'll be awarded a contract under the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, I put this time permits I come back there. Sir, Mr. Speaker, I want to go to transport and harbors. Sir, the Honorable Minister in his presentation provided a report on the achievements of transport and harbors. He indicated that all their liabilities have been cleared. On behalf of the staff of the Transport and Harbors, I'd like to commend the government for their actions. However, what the minister did not say, sir, is that the PPP are clearing up the mess that they created, sir. And here are the liabilities of Transport and Harbors, sir, at the end of 2012, sir, 188.7 million, that's the liabilities deficit. At the end of 2013, this here, sir, you have a copy of it if you want it. At the end of 2013, sir, $296.3 million. That's what it is. So at the end of 2014, $258.6 million in deficit, sir. At the end of 2015, it was, sir, in the whole, sir, you don't worry, the $195.4 billion, sir, in the red. Sir, at the end of 2015, sir, at the end of 2015, it's all here. Transport and Harbors, sir, Transport and Harbors owed NIS $31.6 billion. And GRA, sir, $78.5 million. Sir, but it doesn't end there, sir. The coalition government took measures to reduce that, sir. At the end, sir, and I move on. So at the end of 2019, the arrears was only $80 million. Sir, the $390 million that the honorable member, sir, paid off was all down to his incompetence, all down to his mismanagement, sir. And they come and they want to be applauded, sir, for clearing up the doo-doo they created, sir. Sir, let us speak about dry docking of vessels, sir, and he made a thing, sir, under the coalition, MV Barima, Kimbia, Sandaka, Koala, Sabanto, Maruka, Lady Lord Court, Malali, MV Paraki, were all dry docked and renovated. Sir, we even took out the MV Kimbia, which was languishing for 3 years before we got there, sir, and put it back into operation. Sir, that sir is the records. Sir, going on, sir, the speaker went on to talk about the Linden to Mabura Road, sir, and we're pleased for the 116 persons, he said, sir, that have been employed. We are pleased. Sir, but the employment has absolutely nothing to do with the PPP, sir. This project was executed and designed, packaged and financed by the APNU AFC administration. Lock, stock and barrel. Sir, even worse, sir, when the vice president was the leader of the opposition, sir, met with DFID, sir, in 2019, he reported to them, sir, that he will squash this project when they come to power. And thankfully, like our Norwegians counterpart, the British government said, if you squash it, we will take our money. Sir, that is why that 116 persons, sir, are...
But I will have to ask you to provide that evidence, or else it's imputing. Okay.
Sir, I love the rap to continue me. Normally I get lots of heckles. Sir, the Wisman, the Kubukari Bridge. Sir, these designs for these bridges have been completed since 2019. Public consultations held with the persons requirement, the citizens of Region 10, Region 8, who give their input and their blessings. Sir, it hasn't started yet. Sir, even more, sir, the Honorable Minister, sir, was proud to announce that the PPP are building new offices to house 6,000 person workers away from the city to ease the congestion. What he did not say, sir, nowhere in the PPP manifesto, nowhere in any document ever produced or can be produced, sir, prior to now, that this project was ever there. Sir, where they got this project from, sir? The coalitions, sir, 2017, so they didn't even have a developmental program. 2017 to 2025, sir, developmental plan. Here it is.
share for y'all.
Here it is, sir. Entire new, sir, they didn't even change. They didn't even change the location, sir. They didn't have the vision of the thing, but it's right here, sir. And I challenge them, they have them to come and speak about it. We did it since 2016. Sir, they have the money, all they did is pull out our program, sir. Mr. Speaker, time is going, sir. I move on to energy quickly. Sir, the coalition presented a comprehensive energy diversification blueprint, sir. We left that in place, sir. The PPP has savagely been following this plan and, sir, trying to take credit. Except, sir, the remodel gas to shore project, every single one of the energy projects has been conceptualized, designed, packaged with funding by the APNUAFC administration. Sir, the 1.5 hydro facility at Kumu and the 700 kilowatts rehabilitation of the Mokomoko, mentioned in the budget, fully conceptualized, designed, funded, secured, sir, by the APNU. Sir, the 1.5 solar farm in Bartica, the 0.75 farm in Wakenham, the solar farms in Lethem, Madia, Linden, as well as the solar at Mabaroom, as well as solar panels for the interland community. All, sir, all were fully conceptualized, designed, including funding, sir, by the coalition. Sir, the truth is, sir, and it's all here, the truth is, the PPP are visionless. They have no useful or progressive ideas. Sir, but like parasites, sir, they exist and they extract from others, other people's visions and energies, sir. Sir, the coalition administration, sir, the coalition administration included, sir, I must admit, a gas to shore project in our energy expansion and diversification project blueprint. Our proposal was to construct a 20 megawatt natural gas powered plant connected with the SPSO, sir, with a 12-inch diameter pipe, also including an LPG plant. All, sir, all of this for the total cost of $700 million, sir. Our proposal included every single aspect of the PPP's Wales Gas to Shore project, but at 25% of the cost.
Honorable member, you will need an extension to conclude.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Comrade Speaker, I do move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable member, you may continue to conclude.
Sir, I think, sir, time flies when you're having fun. Sir, the same operator who will be constructing the pipeline for the PPP, sir, was constructing it for her. The same size of pipe, sir. The pipeline remains the same. The size of the LPG plant remains the same. Sir, the only difference is the location and the PPP. These two factors combined, sir, has added an additional $2 billion and counting to this project, sir. Sir, in similar fashion to the Myla Falls, sir, the PPP has announced when completed, sir, the reason why I went through it is to let the people know what they announced, facts versus reality. And they have announced that the project will produce power at 20 cents, 5 US cents when completed, sir. Sir, but they've excluded, sir, to mention certain costs, land acquisition costs, sir. They didn't put that on. They only, as always, they only use half the equation, sir. GPL, sir, I just told you the capex for GPL for a Myla Falls, $134 million US. So they haven't included that in the computation. Sir, they haven't included the cost for redundancy, sir. Every year, the pipeline has to be done for 3 to 4 days for maintenance. Sir, the country has to keep powered, sir. How will this power, how will the country be powered, sir? Sir, you have to include the redundancy cost, but they didn't throw that in the competition. Sir, just like a Milo when it said 10 US cents, that's cost. Transmission lines across, how are you going to get it across the Demerara River, sir? No one has mentioned that, sir. Oil spill plans, waste management plans, gas leaks, gas dispersion, yes, sir. Before me, sir, with me, sir. And, sir, of concern, sir, I love the silence. And I appreciate, sir, the adoration. Sir, of concern to us in the opposition is that the announcement that Guyana is expected to receive 17 lifts in 2023. Sir, in 2018, the government of the ExxonMobil, sir, presented to the government of Guyana the cash flow analysis which stated that the cost for the production of the SPSO and other associated costs for LISA 1, sir, was pegged at $1.2 billion, sir. And after this cost would have been recovered, Guyana's share of the profit oil would be 50-50. At 70 US cents per barrel, producing 120,000 barrels per day. Sir, they have now increased that by 20,000 barrels a day, sir, without even telling anyone. Sir, so they're producing 140,000 barrels a day, sir. The average price of a barrel of oil, which is 16% increase, average price now between 2020. Sir, as I should mention in this projection, which you will get, sir, so don't need to ask. Sir, the full payback, sir, right here. Sir, they're producing a 16% more, sir, which obviously at a higher baseline that they were projected. Sir, we're supposed to now, sir, I expected now, by now, would have been in the cost recovery 50-50 stage, sir. Yep. Sir, the government has failed to even, the minister has failed to even address that. Sir, they haven't even addressed, sir, the audits. Sir, it is our contention, sir. It is our consensus, sir, that by now, the cost for LISA 1 should have been fully recovered and the Exxon should have fully recovered their production investment. Sir, the country, sir, by now supposed to be enjoying 50-50 profit share on profit oil, sir. Sir, if this is not the case as it is now, sir, the government should inform the House on the status of oil recovery and cost oil for LISA 1. And when, sir, when are we expected to commence full equitable on challenges and opportunity. We will support, sir, new systems of government which will facilitate an equitable distribution of our national patrimony. That's right. We will support any budget that does this, that does not only look good on paper, but can actually input and raise the standard of living of our people in a real and tangible way. Unfortunately, sir, Budget 2023 falls short of these modest measures and cannot gain our support in the current format. I thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member.